That was Serenity with Reduced to Nothingness off of their first CD, Worlds Untold and Dreams Unlived. And before that was Artemis with Burning Star off of We Fight. I'm Ken the Metal Professor. This is Mostly Metal here on WVLP here at 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. And I have the honor of sitting across from Jeremy Tillema in the studio. Jeremy, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
And we're going to talk wrestling. One of the benefits of doing a show in a 2-hour block when there are nobody else is in charge but me, and it's not a corporate station, so I don't have to worry about advertisements or sponsors at any particular time or anything like that, is that if I want to change things up, I can change things up. So normally we would wait till probably around like maybe even half an hour from now to start talking wrestling, get all the music out of the way and the horror movie talk out of the way that I'm doing now, and then go to wrestling. But you're here, you're eager, so let's flip it around and start talking wrestling now.
It's your world, brother. I'm just living in it.
All right. So a surprise transition this early in the show, and now we will begin the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Ring the bell.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
This is the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and sitting with me is Jeremy Tillema. Thanks for coming in.
And thank you for having me again.
It's always a pleasure. What is a 4-letter word that starts with B and sounds like another word for a dog's bark? Woof or...
Arby's?
No, well,
What?
that might make a dog barf.
What are you mouthing to me?
Arf.
Arf.
We're a 4-letter word that starts with B and ends with...
Oh, yeah, barf.
Barf. So unfortunately, today we are supposed to be also joined. See, that's my transition.
I was so lost where you were going with
You
that.
got to work with me here, man. Our friend Mikey Blanton, who is the promoter of Black Label Pro, was supposed to be in a tag team with Jeremy tonight to talk about Black Label Pro and some of the things they have going on. And unfortunately, he is home with sick kiddos, so we wish him the best. Hopefully, he's getting a little bit of sleep.
Did you know that babies are nauseated by the smell of a clean shirt?
I believe that. I believe that's been scientifically verified over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're
Nothing but love for Mikey. I feel for him.
Yeah, I've been there and done that, and I know what he's going through. So, Mikey, I hope it's going well. Actually, I hope you're not listening to this because you're asleep. That would be the best thing. But best wishes to you and your wife while you're pulling through this. So what we're going to try to do is move forward in Mikey's absence, but you also have an entire treasure trove of knowledge of Black Label Pro in your head. Is that true?
I believe I am one of maybe 2 or 3 people that can say that they are still with Black Label that have been at every show.
Good. And by every show, Black Label has been running for about a year. So the last show was...
Yeah, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary in September.
That's great. And I was at that show, and it seemed like Black Label Pro, which for people that don't know is a wrestling promotion that runs out of Crown Point. It's one of many we have in this area and across the border in Chicago. And for several shows, they ran at the On the Square Sports Academy in Crown Point, and then had a couple, like 2 or 3 shows at a different venue.
Yeah, just one.
And now they're back home.
There's a scheduling conflict, so we
Had to find an alternative.
Yeah,
the show must go on.
It does. But the On the Square Sports Academy, where BLP runs, is a spectacular place to see a show.
I don't know if I said it the last time I was here, but I've been living in this area for 30 plus years now. I did not know that building existed until the very first Black Label show, and I'm wanting to know how that is because, as you said, it's a beautiful facility. I went downstairs where the locker room is for the first time, and I saw the batting cages, and they literally had to pry me out of I was home.
Wow, I didn't know there was a downstairs with batting cages.
It's insane. They've got like 2 mesh batting cages with pitching machines and you can just in a pitching mound. It's insane all the stuff that is down there. And
I had no idea. The front of the building when you go in is a pretty small entranceway, and to the left and right are a couple of rooms that sort of look like a community area for kids. There's a room on the right that might be a cafeteria, and then a room on the left with some offices, and then you walk farther back the hallway and then you go in and it opens up into this huge gymnasium with really high ceilings, good lighting, good line of sight from everywhere.
Yeah, I love the building. I love the setup of it. A lot of times you go to a show, it'll either have a lot of space to the sides, but it'll have a low ceiling. Or you'll go to a place, it's got a high ceiling, not a lot of space to the sides.
Right.
There's really not a lot of places where you could say it's got both. And the On Square Sports Academy is one of those rare places in Northwest Indiana where you can actually run a show and say you have both.
Yes, and you could also get beer and hot dogs.
Beer and hot dogs.
Pizza.
Well, the hot dogs are for the boys. That's the payday. Mikey gives you a slap on the butt. Attaboy, here's your hot dog.
I've heard that.
No, I'm
a
kidding,
handshake and a
Mike.
hot dog.
I'm kidding, Mike.
So let's set the stage. We'll talk about the next BLP show that's coming up in early November, but maybe to set the stage a little bit, the last show was the second edition of the Darkest Timeline Championship Tournament.
Second annual Darkest Timeline Tournament.
And
yes.
we were both there, so let's see if
You
we
had a
can
great seat
remember.
for that,
I
didn't
did.
you?
It was amazing. Yeah. So when I got there, I was sitting by my lonesome, as I normally do at wrestling shows. But that's okay. I'm there to watch, not to be friends. But Jeremy was nice enough to come over and have me come over and sit at the timekeeper's table with our friend Zoran, who was ringing the bell, and it was an interesting perspective to watch the show from there, and it was a lot of fun. So one of the biggest non-events of that last show was that Jordan Grace has been the BLP champion. There's a funny ticking noise in my, I don't know what that is.
I got it in my ear too.
That's very strange. Well, it's been nice knowing you. If that counts down to 0, whatever that ticking sound is.
I need somebody that considers themselves to be my friend to delete all of my browser history.
Get on that, somebody, quick. Yeah, that's very strange. It's on the board too, so it must be going out. So we'll just deal with it because I have no idea what it is. So Jordan Grace was the Black Label Pro champion, and she was due to defend her championship, but then she had an injury.
She had an injury the night before she hurt her ankle, and she could not make it to the show. We wish her the best. Hopefully she's doing better. I admit, not been able to keep up with everybody, but I believe she's back and competing. But like I said, it's hard to keep up with everybody at all times. But yeah, when injuries like that happen, all you can do is just hope it's nothing too serious, because at the end of the day, none of us want to miss any considerable amount of time. We all love what we do, be it, producers, wrestlers, referees, nobody wants to miss time.
Even referees love what they do?
Yeah.
You like getting yelled at by the crowd and made fun of? And
I get made fun of?
Well, yeah, I was doing it. You didn't hear us?
No.
Okay, next time I'll yell louder.
Don't do that. You're not supposed to make fun of the referee. You're supposed to support him.
I support the referee and all his crazy decisions and his blindness and inability to count to 3 properly. Jeremy's offended now. I'm sorry.
I am. My wrestling sensibilities are hurt.
So, in the absence of Jordan Grace, though, there was a fatal 4-way sort of match to.
No.
Was it 4?
No.
Remind me how that went.
Well, what was supposed to happen was that the Black Label Pro Heavyweight Championship was going to be defended throughout the tournament. The tournament itself was set up to challenge for the title, and Jordan was actually going to enter into the tournament. It was announced, but she couldn't make it. So in her absence, we created a new title. Didn't create. We brought back the Indiana State title, and we crowned our first champion that night with the culmination of the Darkest Timeline tournament. Mr. Kobe Durst ended up taking home the gold.
That's good. And when
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's not a spoiler anymore. When that announcement was made, I don't remember who was. I believe it was the Black Label Pro commissioner
Kirby
was making the announcement, and he rattled off some of the lineage that title holds. And do you have knowledge of how that works in the sense of if there is a long-standing title like that might kind of change, quote unquote, ownership or the people that the title or that the title is in the hands of and that are giving it out? How does that transfer around like that over such a long period of time?
A lot of paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
That is as far as I know. My job is to enforce the rules and award titles to the winners, and that's as far as they tell me.
Sure. I'm just curious if there are, how many are there idle titles out there?
Oh, I'm sure there's a plethora of them.
Yeah. And how do you find out, and how do you get the ability to activate it? And that's really interesting.
I would have to do more research on that. I could not give you an answer on that right now, outside of I'm sure that conversations were had behind closed doors,
Right.
and
A few palms being greased, perhaps.
a couple of hot dogs handed out. But no, like I said, it's wrestling, and things always come and go and come up. So to see something like that happen was very cool, and it was an honor to be there for its rebirth.
That was an interesting moment. One of the reasons I think I said four-way because involving the championship was that one of the other highlights, which is actually a highlight after the fact just as much, was a moment during a four-way match that was between Brian Pillman Jr., Marco Stunt, PCO. Is that
He's not human.
And he's large
And he's
scary.
not human.
Yeah. And I don't remember the fourth person in that match.
Are you talking about the main event?
No, I think it was it was
Because-
the match that Brian Pillman Jr. was in. I think it was pretty quickly after intermission.
I did not have that match, but yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a shame Mikey's not here because I would have loved to hear kind of his reaction to after the fact. It seems like Black Label Pro got a little bit internet famous. More so, BLP gets a pretty good notoriety already outside this area on the wrestling internet, right?
Yes.
Because of some of the performers that they bring in, and they're getting some high profile mentions here and there, which is great. But there was a event during that match where all four wrestlers got tangled up in like one giant hold together and actually and brought the referee into it as well until the referee dropped down and conked them all out at the same time. And it was really fun to watch how that got a lot of conversation started, with some people saying, "Oh, that shouldn't happen," and other people saying, "Hey, it's all in good fun. What's the problem?" So was there a reaction in the BLP inner circle about how that went?
Referees are to enforce the rules, and part of enforcing the rules is standing up for yourself. If the man's life was at risk, those sleeper holds are deadly, and he had to do what he had to do to escape with life and limb, and he's lucky to be walking around today.
That's good. That match was a lot of fun from beginning to end. My favorite part of it was actually at the beginning when I hope I have it right, when PCO came
He's
out.
not human.
Yeah, and Marco Stunt, who was not the smallest person in the building, but the second smallest perhaps, was quite intimidated and ran over into the corner to get comfort from Brian Pillman Jr.
I was keeping order
magic.
in the ring, and I was keeping order in the ring, and Phantom of the Opera hit, and I look out of the corner of my eye, and there is, if you did not see it, Brian Pillman Jr. is standing in the corner, and Marco Stunt kind of moves over towards that corner, and Pillman Jr. literally just gives him a hug from behind and literally starts, for lack of a better term, combing his hair with his hand, and it was one of the more amusing things I have ever seen in my life. Because Brian Pillman Jr. is not a small man by any sense of the word, nor is Marco Stunt a large man by any sense of the word. So to see the contrast of height and just that tender moment between two people that are about to compete for a championship at a professional wrestling match was, I had to kind of chuckle internally at that. Just the things you see.
The spontaneity of
Yes.
it, I thought was just tremendous. It's a little bit past the top of the hour, so I need to do my job and remind everybody that they're listening to WVLP here, 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. We are Valparaiso's nonprofit, all-volunteer community radio station. And I'm Ken the Metal Professor. I'm here with Jeremy Tillema, and we are talking about Black Label Pro Wrestling, which runs out of Crown Point. And we're getting a few book or footnotes out of the way about the last show so that we can talk about what's coming up with their next show. And we just mentioned Brian Pillman Jr. and Marco Stunt. Let's take a second to talk about those folks. In particular, first, Marco Stunt was not somebody I knew at all. So can you talk about a little bit about where he comes from? And
He's built out of Mississippi, and I'll tell you what, I was not aware of him until the last show. He was in a tag match with someone who, his name escapes me at this point, but I believe I was getting a drink or something, getting a water, and I was watching the match, and just the smoothness in the ring and just the risks that he was taking, I immediately went, whoa, we need to bring him back. And we did, and he ended up taking on, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, in what I can only call one of the greatest large man matches of all time. He ended up going one-on-one with the legendary Hornswoggle. And that might have been one of my favorite matches that BLP has ever put on for a live audience.
That match was to me a big surprise, and in fact, when we run down the upcoming show, one of the questions I have written down is for you, and I was hoping Mikey, but you can answer as well. When we're talking about it, what do you expect any of these upcoming matches to be kind of the sleeper match that will really surprise people at how good it is? And I wrote down also that the Swoggle and Marco Stunt match was the sleeper match of that show, because I was expecting to be sports entertained. I was riveted. I mean, it went
Were
all.
you not entertained?
I was. It went all over the arena to the back into the bleachers and into the ring, and they went at it a lot longer and with more intensity than I thought they would. It was really impressive.
One of the most resoundingly charming things about Black Label Pro is just when you think you've seen it all, the guys will somehow pull a rabbit out of the hat and show you something you haven't seen before, and you never realized it until you saw it that you wanted to see it.
Exactly. That was marvelous. The other person that we had just talked about was Brian Pillman Jr. Did you get to interact with him very much?
Brian Pillman Jr., I was very excited when I found out that he was coming to Black Label, because I grew up a huge fan of his. Flying Brian, man. That was one of the first wrestling action figures I can remember asking my mother for Christmas. I want Flying Brian Pillman, and I want Sting, and I want, because they had the little, the wrestling rings that were like 4 inches tall or whatever. And that was one of the first people that I remember asking for their action figure for. It was his dad. So it's really cool to get to work with his son, who looks just like him. And it's going to be very fun to watch his career where it goes, because we had him in for the first time, and I believe it was couldn't have been more than his fifth match. And then he had a bit of a knee injury that put him on the shelf for some time. So his career is actually just taking off. He just came back from it a few months ago, the knee injury. So to the wrestling fan in me, it's going to be very fun to watch where his career goes and what he does. I expect great things for him.
So he seems like he has potential to just keep climbing.
I think just because he's rocking that mullet, he's got all the potential in the world.
Definitely.
How can you deny a mullet?
And it seemed like he was genuinely enjoying himself too, which was it's always good to see.
When you're having fun, you're never working a day in your life.
And I had a sort of a bittersweet moment after that, just one of these coincidences that I managed to talk to him just for a couple of seconds, because he was announced as being from Cincinnati, and that's where I grew up. So I always like to go say hi to a hometown kid. God, I'm calling him kid because I'm 50-some, and he probably, Anyway, that makes me feel old now, but I did that to myself.
You're only as old as you feel. Age is just a state of mind, et cetera, et cetera.
So I went over and said hi to him, and I'm usually not a picture guy, but I got my picture taken with him as well. So I was happy for him. I was glad to see him, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching him in the future. And totally unrelated to that, this was at the time when the preparations for Super Show Down from WWE was getting underway, with The Undertaker and Kane coming back, and there were a lot of mentions of the history there. And I had forgotten the debut of Kane. Like, they mentioned that he had debuted at a certain event. I was like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch
Hell in
that.
The Cell 90s. Well, it was Bad Blood.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
It was In Your House, Bad Blood. Do you also remember why that particular pay-per-view event is historical?
Because I believe Brian passed that day.
That was the one where they were making the announcement about Brian Pillman. And so it was just a bad coincidence that here I was having so much fun watching Brian Pillman Jr., and then just a few days later, just by total chance, I'm watching a replay of the pay-per-view where they're starting to make the announcement about his dad's passing. And that was rough.
Yeah. Death is never anything. It's funny how quick it can all end. Mm-hmm. You try not to think about it, but it comes for us all, and it's very sad to see a person, a husband, a father, taken well before he should have gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Owen Hart was in this pay-per-view too, and it was just one of those pay-per-views that really brought home a lot of the history to the business. All right, happy thoughts here. Let's talk about Saturday, November 3rd. Big Trouble in Little Crown Point is the next Black Label Pro show, and I found listings for 8 different matches on Facebook. Each one has like its little, playing card type of image with the two or more people involved pictured. And I don't know if you want to go through these in any particular order, but
fire away.
Okay, so the big one with Kobe Durst being crowned BLP
Indiana
State heavyweight champion at the last event. He will be taking on Rory Gulak for that title.
A Black Label Pro regular. We haven't seen him in a couple of shows, but Rory is always game, and that is going to be one that could easily be match of the night, because Kobe Durst, man, that I don't want to call him a kid, but I'm fairly certain I'm older than him, so that kid can go.
Yeah.
I have the best seat in the house. I see these guys. Kobe Durst, you better bring a lunch for both of those guys. I hope both those guys bring their lunch pail, man, because it could be a long one.
Mm-hmm. Jake Parnell versus Myron Reed. I don't know that I've seen Jake Parnell before, but I have seen Myron Reed.
Jake Parnell was at the last Black Label show. Mm-hmm. He took on Filthy Tom Lawler.
Oh, okay.
He was not successful, but Jake Parnell, man, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but man, Jake's another one that he does not take a day off ever. Every match could be his last match in his eyes, and he just wants to go out there and leave it all in the ring. And Jake Parnell versus Myron Reed that's worth price of admission right there, because Myron Reed, not to sound cheesy, is hot fire. I've seen Myron at here and there at other shows. AAW comes to mind immediately. Myron Reed, he can hit you from anywhere. He can come from anywhere, top rope, from the apron, anywhere. He's very high intensity, high speed offense, and he is absolutely a great matchup for Jake. This will be a good test for Jake.
Mm-hmm. Good. We have Brian Alvarez versus Marco Stunt, who we've been talking about. This Brian Alvarez is one of the other reasons that BLP, I think, is more internet famous than perhaps otherwise.
I don't want to sell Brian Alvarez short, because I don't want him to bury me in his radio show.
Well, the media juggernaut of WVLP will make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay. I don't feel as worried now. But him versus Marco Stunt, just like him and Hornswoggle, I don't know what to expect from that one, so therefore I expect craziness to ensue, because Black Label Pro. Mm-hmm. You just kind of have to accept the fact that the laws of nature don't seem to apply at Black Label. So we'll see what happens there. I really don't know where that one's going to go.
You know, I'm sort of seeing parallels in a strange way between Black Label Pro and Lucha Underground, in the sense that, as you just said, some of the usual trappings and standards just kind of don't apply. Like Lucha Underground, you're likely to see intergender matches quite often, and you just don't. It's just part of what they do. You don't question it very much, and that'll happen at the next Black Label Pro show, or this match, Brian Alvarez versus Marco Stunt. It's just it is what it is, right? It's not.
It's wrestling.
Exactly.
Anything can happen.
It's not the standard, but it's not unexpected in a weird way either.
Look, if a movie's predictable, is it any good? Probably, but
sometimes
you want to be surprised, don't
right.
you?
Puma King versus Gringo Loco.
That is...
Will that be Lucha? I saw their masks, so...
Without a doubt, that will be Lucha. Without a doubt. And it's going to be amazing, because Gringo Loco might just be one of the best luchas going, and Puma King is absolutely another one that you could say is one of the best luchas going. So where the two shall meet, chaos is going to ensue. This is going to be another one. Don't miss this show. That's all I can really say is don't miss this show.
Do we know anybody who's going to miss this show?
Yes, we do. I suppose yes. Unfortunately, I will not be at this show. This will be the first Black Label show I've missed.
But you have a good reason.
Yeah, a family member is getting married, so I got to be there.
Yeah, well, they can write you a note, and it will.
Yeah, I'll give the hall pass to Mikey.
This particular match is already making me sore just thinking about it. Gary J versus Kevin Q.
Kevin Q and Gary J. Those two, I'm sure they have crossed paths before, but it is the first time they're going to cross paths in Black Label. And these are two guys that they are very much of the mindset that they want to be the standard bearer for Black Label. They want to be the face of Black Label. And I believe they're both looking at it as, I got to go through the other guy to do it. So these two are going to have to lock horns, and we're going to find out who's moving up that ladder.
I've seen them each a couple of times already, and the intensity that each one of them brings is off the chart. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like with both of them in there going after each other.
Oh, it's going to be chaos.
We have Dasher Hatfield versus the not human PCO.
Well, since he's already said it, I don't feel like I'm taking sides here. Dasher's already said he's going to die. Because as we've already covered, PCO is not human.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it. That man is frightening to be in the ring with. Just there's an ungodly look in his eyes. He's like a shark that smells blood. And it's until you've been in there with him, it's hard to really explain. Other than it's an out of this world experience.
So Dasher is predicting his own demise? Is that
Dasher did not? When I saw his Twitter, Dasher did not put forth an air of confidence. I don't know why that is, because Dasher Hatfield is an amazing athlete. I've had the pleasure of being in the ring with him. He's a great guy, But PCO, all kidding aside, is having a renaissance, and I don't think that PCO plans on slowing down anytime soon. So Dasher's going to have his work cut out for him. What more can I say than that? This is another case of can't miss.
I will be prepared to press F to pay respects to Mr. Hatfield if his prediction comes true.
I don't know if winning is Dasher's goal so much as surviving.
Yeah.
As a lot of people would have if they were paired up with PCO.
Alley Cat versus Kylie Ray.
I'm going to be absolutely transparent here. This is absolutely the match that I'm kicking myself that I'm going to miss, because I have been looking forward to seeing Kylie Ray in a Black Label Pro ring for a long time. And I'm so excited that she's finally made her way to Black Label. I'm hoping that everything goes well and she'll be back. That being said, it could be a short parade for her if Alley Cat comes out victorious, because Alley Cat is no joke herself. All the fun and games aside, I've seen that girl. She's got claws. No pun intended. That girl can go.
Well, she was in one of the matches at the last show that had multiple people in it, and she hung in there for quite a while.
She can hold her own with anybody.
Can you say a little bit more about Kylie Ray? Because I've seen Alley Cat. I have not seen Kylie Ray before.
Is sunshine and puppies and everything that is right with the world. Everything that makes you smile. And she's been all over the country, all over the world. She's just coming back from a broken clavicle.
Ow.
And yeah, there's not much you can do. It's like a rib injury. The only thing you can do is let Mother Nature take its course. So actually, I had the pleasure of having her first match back at the Jim Lynam tournament in Chicago with AAW, and the response she got when she came through that curtain was something I will never forget. Because I will absolutely say it. I think Kylie Ray is a rising star in this business, in my unbiased opinion.
Excellent. The last match that I was able to get information about is the title match between Jordan Grace and All Ego Ethan Page.
The rematch. The rematch from a few shows ago. Those two went to a draw. And Jordan, or not a draw, a disqualification, I believe. I'm sure I was wrong there, and Mikey's going to blow me up. It was this. I'm sorry. I have a terrible memory, and my phone's not working, so I can't look up the results again.
Calm down, Mikey. Jeez.
Yeah, take care of the babies. But they are having a rematch, and this time we will see if we can have ourselves a more clear and precise winner. Ethan Page, he's just getting back from Japan, and he's in tremendous shape, as he will be the first to tell you on his Twitter, or at least tremendous shape for a newly father. And Jordan Grace, man, I don't think I've ever seen a woman be able to do the things that Jordan Grace does to other men. She throws them around like they're sacks of potatoes. So this is going to be another really good, where were you when this happened type of match.
And the image for the match said it's Falls Count Anywhere. Is that still the case?
Falls Count Anywhere. As far as I know, I have not been told otherwise.
Okay. And if so, I've seen matches like that at BLP, and in this venue, that literally does mean anywhere.
It could end up in the batting cages.
When the Faces of Fear were at the show, they had I don't know if it was officially a Falls Count Anywhere match, but it turned into one.
It became one.
And it went everywhere.
Yeah, that match was violent. I remember being in the locker room. I was having a conversation with someone, and literally we stopped mid-sentence and looked at each other like, what was that? Because we just heard, it sounded like a bomb went off. And where I was, we had windows, and you could look out into the arena, and it literally looked like a bomb went off. Guardrails were strewn everywhere. Trash cans were turned over. The crowd was just going in all different directions, and you had the Faces of Fear, and their opponents were just at opposite ends of the building, and it was just chaos. And yeah.
Do you have of this list of all the matches? Do you have a particular sleeper or a match that you think will surpass expectations and really surprise people in terms of how good it might be?
They're all great matches.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick one. They're all special for different reasons. They all bring something unique to the table. I don't know that there's one that I expect great things from all of them. I will say the one that I think will be the most interesting to watch for me has to be a toss-up between Jake Parnell and Myron Reed and Jordan and Ego, because just the difference in styles, but what each of them, how the talent that they have in their particular fields, it only good things can come from those pairings.
We mentioned already that you unfortunately won't be at the show. For people in your situation who can't be there but want to watch it anyway, there are options, right?
Yes, there is. The best option is to go get yourself a nice Powerbomb TV subscription, and only $9.99. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I don't know. But you can catch not only us, there's all sorts of great promotions from across the country, across the world, on there. So for $9.99, you are really getting your money's worth. But that is our home online. You can watch all of the shows that we've done, all the way back to last year, from the first Darkest Timeline tournament to the last, to the last Darkest Timeline tournament that we did just this September. So, you're getting a lot for your money. For the wrestling fan out there, I highly recommend you pick that up, because I'm still discovering new promotions on there.
Right, and so all the events stay in an on-demand sort of cycle.
Yes.
Is there a delay between when the event takes place and when it's accessible on demand afterwards?
I can only speak to what I see with Black Label. The longest I've seen wait is 4 days. Usually it's like a day or two at the most on the average.
Okay, and
so
that's
it's not long.
And that's powerbomb.tv.
Powerbomb.tv.
Okay. They're not sponsoring the show, by the way.
No, they're not.
This is not a commercial. It's just information for people out there. So, yeah, that's going to be Saturday, November 3rd, Big Trouble in Little Crown Point, Black Label Pro at the On the Square Sports Academy. Doors will open at 6. Show will start at 7, if the timing is following the standard. But that's not the end of BLP activity. It might be. Is that going to be the last show during this calendar year, do you think?
I'm not sure.
They seem to be coming out every month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, I have not heard about the December date. I don't believe we're doing anything in November. Yes, we're doing. Oh my gosh, what am I saying? Yeah, I haven't heard anything for December, but stand by. Everything changes in wrestling,
right?
But there is more that I can talk about with Black Label.
Let's jump to 2019.
We're gonna go into the time machine. Jump ahead to April. WrestleMania weekend. Black Label Pro is a part of something wonderful. It is called. Let me make sure I'm reading it right. The pregnant pause. We are.
Is the collective?
It is called
the
the
name
collective.
Of the event?
Yes, it is. It is a giant conglomeration of promotions. Just a few to list off would be Black Craft, ourselves, Black Label, Shakara, AIW, and GCW. That we're all going to be putting on shows in the area of WrestleMania during WrestleMania week. The collective is going to be in Jersey City, New Jersey, and we're privileged to be a part of it. This is a big step for Black Label, just in terms of national coverage. We get it on the internet, but all eyes are on the wrestling world come WrestleMania weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how the New Jersey fans react, and I'm looking forward to it. It's a global audience, and then I'm jazzed for it. This is going to be my first time doing a WrestleMania weekend. I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I can't wait to see what happens.
And this will be maybe people from this area will be traveling to the spectacle of WrestleMania. It'll be 4 p.m. on Friday, August 5th, April 5th, just to set the timeline for this.
Yeah.
And the way this event looks to work is that there's, as you said, all these promotions, and for about 3 days straight, there will be a huge block of time during the day where about every 4 hours, a different promotion will get to set up a show. So BLP will be going right after Shakara, which is not too bad of a spot, I think.
No. Well, I mean, Chikara is an outstanding promotion, so follow that, and we're going to have the pleasure to try to follow that.
Do you know if that event will be broadcast? Powerbomb TV or any idea?
Don't quote me on. I would assume so, simply because why wouldn't it? But again, that's all up in the air. That's beyond my decision-making ability. I think it'd be cool. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but if anything changes, obviously it will be announced.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it will be.
Okay. It's amazing to see how the WrestleMania weekend has gotten to where it's not just the WrestleMania event, and it's not just the things that WWE are putting on, because so many other promotions are taking advantage of the high holy holiday of the wrestling world.
It's wrestle stock.
Yeah, exactly. Is there such a thing as too much wrestling?
How could you even
Jeremy's
say
looking
that?
at me like I'm crazy.
Too much wrestling? That's like saying too much chocolate.
I
No
guess
such
so.
animal.
But you could lose a lot of sleep if you try to keep up with everything going on that particular weekend.
From the people I've talked to that have been a part of WrestleMania week doing shows like that, there is no such thing as sleep.
Yeah, I believe it.
It is all powered by Red Bull and good intentions.
Is it too soon to know any of the performers?
Yeah, I have not seen anything like that, but as it's WrestleMania week and it's a show like that, I would imagine that it's going to be huge.
Yeah. And that event, again, is called The Collective.
The Collective.
So keep that Google search term at hand.
And obviously, everybody's going to be, as the event gets closer, more and more will be put out on social media. Keep your eyes peeled, because you never know what's coming next.
Was it my imagination, or was there another show away from home in Texas, possibly in the... I saw that another promotion around here was setting up
AAW.
That was okay.
That was AAW.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, they had a show down in Austin, Texas this weekend, and from what I've gathered, it went great. Everybody was very happy with it, and I'm very happy for them. Man, AAW busts its butt to put out the types of shows that they put out. I said it last time. They're top dog in the Chicagoland area.
Well, that was an unexpected but good transition, I suppose, because I did hope to ask you about some of your other activities. We've talked a lot about Black Label Pro, but you have a relationship with a couple of other promotions, AAW being one of them.
The main ones right now are AAW, Freelance Underground, Black Label, and Warrior Wrestling out of Chicago Heights.
And is that Warrior Wrestling, is that sort of a special event fundraiser kind of
it's a fundraiser.
Organization?
It raises scholarship money for the school, for their students. It's a private school. So to be able to help with, you're helping someone attain education. So if you have a talent in whatever you do, and that is able to help somebody better their lives, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's charity at the end of the day, and it's a blessing to be a part, and it just happens to be such a big show.
Yeah, and my take on it from watching through Facebook from a distance was that the first event was put on, and it was such a success that then the decision was made to try to run it again.
1,000 people.
Yeah.
1,000 people.
That's amazing.
That speaks for itself.
So Warrior Wrestling is not one that will probably have, at least at this point, they're not regularly running every month.
He seems to be Steve, the gentleman, the principal that runs it. He seems to be about quarterly, semi-annually.
AEW, on the other hand, they are like
pick a weekend.
Every other week.
pick a weekend and hope there's still tickets left. Because man, those buildings are packed. They are sold out before they even announce anybody on the card half the time.
So with your involvement with Black Label Pro, AAW, Freelance, Warrior Wrestling, have you developed sort of a vision for yourself of what would be just a normal show that goes off without a hitch, and have you ever actually experienced one?
No. In my experience, if anything doesn't go wrong, then it's not a normal show.
Always something. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Never ever assume that what's on paper is going to be 100% what goes out in front of the live audience. Something always changes last minute, and you just got to roll with it. You really do.
And you had the chance recently to, don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this, but you had the chance recently to kind of look at the big stage, getting to visit WWE and watch from off to the side, or just get a different perspective on it. Did that do anything to change your view of, how much you enjoy the business? Did that reaffirm it? Did it make you question it? Anything like that?
It gave me a deeper appreciation for how much work and discipline goes into it. You grow up and you read and you hear about the travel and the schedule and the day-to-day, but to actually experience it and see what that's like, it's a very humbling experience, and it just really shines light on just, even for me personally, just how wrong I view some things and how I approach things and look at things. At the end of the day, it's a privilege to be in this business, and very few get to experience that level of success that they have. So to just kind of be a fly on the wall and just watch from afar and get to get a taste of what just a week is like, and how that all goes in. I have nothing but respect for everybody up there, and I will say that is the nicest group of people I have ever met. They made me feel like I was one of the boys, part of the crew. And I'm not just talking about people you see on television. I'm talking about the people that do the marketing, people that are doing the lighting, people that make everything work so the product that you see on television looks the way it does. That is the nicest group of people I've ever met.
Right. It's always fun when there's a show that takes place in the region, like the one recently from Chicago, where they often invite some local folks to participate in the show, and they had
Monix.
Pat Monix.
Shout out.
I saw, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I didn't recognize any.
He
of
wasn't
the others,
the only. He wasn't the only one there.
Right.
But,
he's the one I knew.
Yeah, Pat Monix is the one I worked closest with, and to see Pat, who's one of the nicest guys I've met, to see him be out there in front of the live audience where he deserves to be, because of the work he's put in and the respect that he has for this business. To see him out there in front of that crowd on national live television it put a smile on my face.
Yeah. So when you're watching the shows from this area, keep your eyes open, because you never know who's going to pop up, even for just a fleeting second, out of the corner of your eye, or actually involved in a match. You
Indeed.
can always be surprised. Well, what do you think? Have we done a good job?
I hope so. I don't have service right now. I'm fully expecting to walk out the door when this is over, and my phone's going to get coverage, and I'm going to blow up from Mikey or something. You said this wrong. You didn't
dummy.
cover this. This is why you're not going to be at the next show. Don't bother coming in, you bum.
All right. Well, I think we did a good job of talking about the upcoming Black Label Pro show, and at some point after many more of these events, Black Label Pro and others have come and gone, and you have more fun stories to tell, we'll do this again.
Indeed. I just wish Mikey could have been here, man.
Yeah. So unfortunately, sorry, Mikey, that you got the sick kiddos to take care of. But
hopefully he got everybody to sleep and he can get some of his own.
Right. NyQuil for everybody. That was my advice. We just visited relatives this weekend. That's why I wasn't able to go to local shows, and they're expecting a baby. And so every time the question of, well, what advice do you have comes up, it was always NyQuil. NyQuil for everything.
Oh, man.
For you and for the babies. That always helps. All right, Jeremy, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for sharing all this time with WVLP. I'm Ken the Metal Professor. This has been the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program. I'm going to play a heavy metal song or two, and then I will finish up the hour with this week's version of Ken's Dark Corner, where I'll give a brief overview of many zombie films that are available on Amazon Prime right now. So you will hear an episode called Amazombies. But in between now and then, let's listen to some Sky Harbor, new things from them off of Sunshine Dust, and then an old track from Megadeth. As long as the CD is queued up properly, we'll see how this goes. Jeremy, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, brother.